Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman!
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
Greetings, Bat Family. Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Please visit our website, holybatcast.com, so we're going to find everything you need with Holy BatCast. But don't worry, we are also all over social media because isn't everybody? So you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. Just search for Holy BatCast on your social media of choice. You'll find us. We are there. We are also on Patreon. So if you're a fan of the show, would like to help support the show, become a more permanent member of the family, you can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And along those lines, I got to give a big shout out. We got 2 new patrons this week. So when it rains, it pours. So a huge thank you to Eric Dobbins and Clark Denning. Clark and Eric, thank you so much. We know you don't have to do it, but you did because you're awesome. So lots of love to you guys. Huge hugs. Thank you so much. Again, Eric Dobbins and Clark T. Denning. We really do appreciate it, just like we appreciate everybody who contributes to the show and helps make it happen. So again, if you'd like to do that, it's patreon.com/holybatcast. We are also part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. So if you want to sample some of those other shows, you can go to rf4rm.com and you'll get a rundown of those shows at the end of the episode. As always, I'm your host, Andy DiGenova. Hello, and if you'd like to follow me when I'm not talking about Batman, I'm on Twitter and on Instagram at Andy DiGenova. See? How easy is that? Now, this episode, we're going to be catching up on a lot of stuff that's happened in the last week. We got news about DC films at Warner Brothers, like what's going on there. We got the start of production of Wonder Woman 2. Now we know it is Wonder Woman 1984. And we got our first look, second look, really. Our first more robust look at Aquaman. I was going to just talk about it by myself, but fortunately, I don't have to. And joining me this week is not Jamie Drewley. It's not. It is the Orm to my Arthur Curry. It's Brendan Lowe. Hey, Brendan.
How you going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. I've been waiting to hear why Jamie hasn't been joining us because I can't think of any American stereotypes that don't involve your president, healthcare, or gun control. So I don't know why he's not there. So
well, it's actually a sad story. He had a quadruple decker cheeseburger and suffered from meat sweats, and now he's passed out in a cornfield.
Okay, that worked.
It's a very Jamie thing to do.
Right. Okay.
So our thoughts and prayers are with him. Hopefully he'll be back up and running next week.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we can hope. But thank God, called in the alternate.
Yes. The Earth 2 Jamie.
Thanks for joining.
No, this is capping off what's been a very geeky couple of days for me. So pleasure to be here.
Perfect. Yay, we're the grand finale. Woo, for us. Anyway, yeah, a lot of stuff has gone down in the past week. It's funny because Jamie did warn me early on that he was not going to be available this week for the episode. I guess he knew that he was going to overdo it with the cheeseburger, but I mean, good for him for planning ahead. So I reached out to you pretty early going, hey, can you fill in this week? And we were kind of like, well, what do we talk about?
Yeah.
And the universe heard us and gave us a bunch of stuff, just one after the other, where we were like, oh, okay, well, now I think we have enough. And then the next day, oh, now I really think we have enough. And now by this day, we're like, shoot, I hope this is less than 5 hours long.
We'll do what we can.
And it has to be, because I have to go see The Incredibles 2 with my wife. So let's start at the very beginning. That's when you say a very good place to start. That was your line.
Right. Sorry, my bad. My mind automatically went to what was the first story?
Because when you read, you start with ABC, but when you podcast, you start with Geoff Johns. So that was the first. Geoff Johns, it was announced that he is stepping down as the chief creative officer of DC Entertainment, and he instead is going to be taking on a producer role and writing Green Lantern Corps the film. This was the first rumble we got this week, and that's it. It was not super clear as to whether it was his choice to step down or whether he was asked to step down. I saw a lot of speculation that he was asked, and they were like, "But don't worry, Geoff, we'll take care of you. Look, you can write and produce Green Lantern Corps. That's pretty great." And he stays on as a producer to the rest of the DC films. So, what was your take on this, Brendan?
I think the universe half heard what we were discussing around this time last week, and instead of giving it to Paul Dini, gave it to Geoff Johns.
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't really bother me one way or another, to be perfectly honest. Like, I mean, I know he knows how to write Green Lantern. I haven't read a lot of Green Lantern stuff, but the stuff that I have, it's all the stuff he wrote. And it's really good, like Rebirth and was it Secret Origin or something like that? Yeah, I dug it, so I'm happy for this. I don't know what it means, big picture moving on. Like, we'll wait and see. But I mean, the other thing is too, with all of these movies, nothing's in concrete moving forward anyway as to what roles people are going to have.
What?
Yeah,
hey,
so I mean,
you're
it's
crazy.
Just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, Green Lantern's good, and we, he writes a good movie.
With all these movies we've heard about, we're getting 10 DC movies a year now.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. So I just hope that this was amicable. I just hope that Geoff Johns, this is what he wants. I hope that he is not being blamed for some of the stumbles that have happened with the DC films, because I don't think that the blame is his. I know some fans disagree with me. They do think the blame lies with him. I do not. I'm a big fan of his, and I think that he remains the right guy. And so I just hope that this is what he wants. I hope that he's not another sacrificial lamb that's being put out there to protect other people who did make those bad decisions. So I'm disappointed he will no longer be the chief creative officer at DC, because I do think that's who he should be. Oh, I guess I should mention Jim Lee is stepping into that role, so that's encouraging. If someone's got to take Geoff Johns' place, Jim Lee is someone I think we can all agree knows his stuff and is someone we can get behind. So that's good. But it does, I think the silver lining to this is that, yes, if you want Green Lantern in anyone's hands, Geoff Johns are those hands. And so that's exciting. I hope that the movie happens. I hope the movie gets made. I hope that it's great, because I think that him writing that movie is exciting. Him no longer being in charge of creative for DC Entertainment is disappointing. So I hope it's for the best, but I'm going to look at the silver lining and go, hey, this is really great news for a Green Lantern Corps movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep, totally agree.
And then the next day, there was a bunch more stuff. So it was almost like that was the appetizer before all these other things happened. And this all came from the Hollywood Reporter. So Hollywood Reporter, legit, they're reporting on stuff that they know. So basically it was almost like just a status check of the DC films, of Walter Hamada and what he's been wrangling over there at DC.
It was almost like they heard last week's episode.
Yes.
It was really funny reading this story like 2 days after we recorded and going, I was thinking like, wow, this is almost like a direct response to what we were only talking about.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I think that for now, over a year, maybe 2 years now, people have said, the fans have said that someone needs to get this, get the ducks in a row over at DC Films. And it didn't feel like that was happening, because leadership kept changing. It was Zack Snyder and his crew, and then it was Geoff Johns and John Berg, and that lasted, I think, less than a year. And then it was Geoff Johns and then Walter Hamada. And so it's like they keep passing the reins, and nobody has them long enough to truly get everything in place.
And see, not that I fully understand it either, but like this week too, we had the whole AT&T thing happen. So
yeah,
it's not just the DC stuff. Like, it's Warner Brothers as a whole is going through a big transition at the moment, from what I gather.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true too. So Walter Hamada was brought in from New Line, and he's now taking over DC Films. And basically, it sounds like that's exactly what he's doing. And he's coming in, he's taking stock of everything. He's taking stock of everything that it is on the docket, in development, in order, and prioritizing and making decisions and getting their ducks in a row. The Hollywood Reporter.
He had one of the horror franchises, didn't he?
Yeah, he did Conjuring.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, and It, which made a couple dollars last year.
Yeah, no, they're low budget movies that no one's heard of. So
yeah, look them up; they're not bad.
Yeah.
But it says the quote from this insider, whose name of course is left out. It says he walked into a shit show and he's trying to clean it up. So they do say that apparently both Joker movies are still in play.
Yay!
So last week I theorized that the Todd Phillips Joker movie might not happen, but according to this, it's still happening. They even went so far as to say it's going to be lower budget, $55 million, and it might go into production either late this year or early next year. So sounds like that's still happening, but so smart that movie would be a $55 million budget, because that's one of the other things that we've been able to level at some of these DC films, not counting Wonder Woman, is the budgets. The budgets have just been so huge that it better be $1 billion movie. And so a $55 million Joker movie makes a hell of a lot of sense, because do you know how much it has to make worldwide to be profitable? $150 million.
Yeah.
And that's easy. I mean, not for me, but as for, a Joker movie, I think it's pretty easy to clear 150 worldwide. So that's really smart.
Would that be maybe even 2 weekends if it's anywhere close to being good?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sounds like that's still happening. It sounds like there's been, so here's what it says. Next year, Shazam and Wonder Woman 2, which began shooting on June 13th, which we'll get to in just a minute. 2 potential Joker features, one that stars Jared Leto from Suicide Squad and another starring Joaquin Phoenix that Todd Phillips will direct. Todd Phillips' movie is expected to begin shooting in the fall, budgeted at $55 million, a fraction of most superhero picks, and may be launched under a new label that could be branded DC Dark or DC Black.
Interesting.
So, very interesting. So they think this year it'll be interesting to get a second label. I don't know if that's going to be confusing to the non-nerd community.
Yeah, and I mean, look, as much as we love it when your your actual label isn't getting that much love, doing a spin-off label to me doesn't, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Why not just call it Elseworlds or DC Elseworlds?
Even then, that's going to confuse people. But
that's true. I just feel like DC Dark or DC Black is just vague.
It is. It makes you think Dark Universe too.
Right. And I
mean, don't want to be associated with.
Yeah. So interesting. So it sounds like that's still in the pipeline. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the fall if we get an announcement that they've started production. I mean, we'll hear things. We'll hear some casting and whatnot if it actually happens. It says The Flash will finally begin production in early 2019 with Ezra Miller. It has abandoned the somber themes that had been expected. It is now looking to Back to the Future as a touchstone.
Good.
I mean, hard to get mad at that. Who doesn't love Back to the Future?
I never wanted Flashpoint. I never did.
Yeah. Like, playing with time travel, fine. That's a Flash thing. But yeah, Flashpoint always felt like this was the wrong time. So that's exciting. If it really goes into production early next year, that's exciting too, because I think The Flash is something that's really, I think the fans are ready for it and we're excited for it. And I think most of the fans enjoyed Ezra Miller as the Flash.
Yeah.
And then also in line is, of course, Birds of Prey with Harley Quinn and director Kathy Yan. It doesn't give a timeline for that, but it says it's very much active, as well as a Batgirl movie, which is currently on track with the script being written by Christina Hodson. So it sounds like that's our active slate. Shazam, Aquaman, Wonder Woman 1984, then Joker, or whatever they end up calling the Todd Phillips Joker, The Flash, Birds of Prey. No mention of Suicide Squad 2, which is another one that I kind of would expect to be more active than not.
Yeah. Because all the talk previously was that it was very much active. They wanted to kind of...
Yeah. There was talk of it going into production August, September, I think?
Yeah. And I read that not too long ago.
Yeah. And then it mentions Batman. So it says Matt Reeves turned in the first act of the new screenplay during Memorial Day weekend, which was just 2 weeks ago. It's said to focus on a young Cape Crusader, and while the studio would not comment, it's unlikely that Ben Affleck will return. So this started another shitstorm of the whole will he, won't he, and I'm just tired of that conversation, but it makes me look like the asshole because 2 episodes ago,
yeah,
I was like, hey, there's rumors that he wants to resign. And see, now, F me, this is why I need to keep my mouth shut. So apologies for everybody. But anyway, we've gotten no real news on Ben returning or not returning in, I think, a year. It's been the same situation for a year, but this goes back to the assumption, which has been the assumption for a long time now, is in that Ben is done.
I mean, the last quote unquote official thing that we've heard, not that it was even that official, wasn't it Affleck himself at Comic-Con last year? You know, saying that he'd love to be an effing monkey for
Matt Reeves. Yeah.
For Matt Reeves, you know, like he'd love to, you know, he's Batman, and it's kind of like, well, cool, we'll take it your word. But, you know, you also said you were going to direct the thing too.
Well, and again, when that happened, he never said he was staying as Batman. He just said, I have the best job in the world. I'm so lucky. And I would love to work with Matt Reeves. He didn't say, I'm going to play Batman for Matt Reeves. So he was very careful with how he said it. And then I think there were comments that came a little bit later where he said, oh, he's looking for the right way to segue.
Gracefully exit or something.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I want great Batman movies. I want...
Not me. I want garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage Batman movies, please.
I want a Batman actor that is going to stick around, and we don't have the problem that we had, you know, with the original 4 films. 3 actors, 3 actors over 4 movies. All that said, I love Ben Affleck as Batman. I really do, and I don't think he ever really got to show us what he's fully capable of, in a solo film, because he never had one. Some of the best, whether you like Batman versus Superman or not, or whether you like Justice League or not, some of the best moments of those films are his Batman, in my opinion. He looks like Batman. Like, he is ripped straight from the comic page. I posted a photo on my social media yesterday. I know, Andy, you've seen it. At a convention I was at, there was a cosplayer, and this dude, like... I know it's just a random guy in a Batman costume, but
he's spot on.
Dude, he freaking looked like Affleck. And just seeing him was just like, holy crap. Like, he looked like Batman, to the point that Richard Strone commented on it and was like, that is amazing. You know, he's the best. I loved him. I absolutely loved him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think that I would love to have seen him continue. At this point, I assume he's not, but I'm just tired of the back and forth at this point. So anyway, this added more fuel to that fire, but we'll just leave it there, because what are we going to say that we haven't said before?
Exactly. We love him. We wish in a perfect world he'd stick around, but look, you know, if him departing means we're going to get a great trilogy or more, so be it.
Yeah. Absolutely. The other thing that was said in this article was that they're not going to date upcoming DC films so far in advance. So...
See, they must listen to this show, dude.
Yeah.
Because I think that was something we specifically said that last week, I think.
Right. So that's good. Also, plug the leak as to how this stuff is getting out there. But that's good. Focus on what's actually going to happen. Stop making empty promises, because all it does is confuse and rile up the fan base. Don't do that. So that sounds good. And what it said about Hamada, it says Walter has a specific design for the universe. He has a plan. So overall, I think this is good news. Again, I don't think it's good news that Geoff Johns stepped down. But overall, I think it's good news that Hamada is getting stuff whipped into shape, because we all know that was necessary. And I hope to God he's the guy. It sounds like he's the guy. Yeah, like get the house in order, make it deliberate, make it make sense, and don't get ahead of yourself, and do things one step at a time. And it sounds like that's what they're doing, is they're really starting to narrow the focus on a very deliberate pipeline, and that's great.
Yeah, can't argue.
So it'll be interesting to see what comes next. But this was an interesting little update from the Hollywood Reporter on how things are going over there. And at this point, we'll just we'll wait and see as further things develop. Mm-hmm. But they did mention Wonder Woman 1984 started production on the 13th. So I had heard that it had started production a week prior to that, and I even sent out a tweet, but it might have been like second unit stuff, did it in advance of principal photography, or who knows. I don't know where that initial one came from.
Well, wasn't there some crap clickbait thing about, set pics or first set or something or other from Wonder Woman? It was like literally a photo of a car park.
God, I missed that. If that happened, I didn't see it.
Yeah, that was like early last week, I think, from memory.
Huh. Well, okay, I'm not unhappy about missing that.
No.
So yeah, what happened was I woke up to a couple of photos. So one came from Patty Jenkins, the director, and it is a photo of Chris Pine, and it says, "Welcome to Wonder Woman 1984, Steve Trevor, hashtag WW84.
What?
And then just about the same time, Gal Gadot, she tweeted out a photo of herself. It just says Wonder Woman 1984, and it's a picture of her with her back to the camera and her reflection in a window with 12 televisions, all showing. They're all tube TVs from the 80s, showing different 80s programming. So the ones that jump out are a little shot from Vacation, from National Lampoon's Vacation, as well as a shot from Dallas. And I can't really... One of them looks like a soda commercial or a Crystal Light commercial. One is color bars. But anyway, it's her looking at all these tube TVs in a window, and we just see her reflection in the glass. And this was on June 13th. They started shooting that day. What followed was a flurry of spy pics of the shooting.
Yes.
And so it's funny because we'll get into Steve Trevor. I saw a lot of people was like, how could they spoil that Steve Trevor is in the movie?
They were getting ahead of the curve.
And I was just like, because they were shooting on location, and they know that when they shoot on location, spy pics come out immediately. And so they released the official photo first, and they got ahead of it, which made perfect sense. This also means that they're not keeping it a secret. They're deliberately not keeping it a secret, which means he'll probably also be in trailers. This isn't a surprise. So it's actually something I'm not surprised by. There had been murmurs of this since the first movie ended.
Yeah.
Of him coming back. And I think that this picture did what it should have, and it did what Patty Jenkins probably wanted it to, is it created a lot of conversation. Some positive, some negative, and some in the middle. But at least people were talking, and it goes back to the old adage of there's no such thing as bad publicity, because all day people were debating whether or not the return of Steve Trevor was a good thing in Wonder Woman 1984. And at that point, I'll turn it to you, Brendan. Is the return of Steve Trevor a good thing in Wonder Woman 1984?
I think the vital word when it comes to this is context. Mm-hmm. We have no idea what context this character is going to be involved in this film. Is it Steve Trevor from the first movie? Is it Steve Trevor that, is it a like they did in the TV show? Could it be a relative? Could it be a vision? It could be a number of things. At the end of the day, I don't care. I loved him in the first movie. I loved their chemistry in the first movie. If they've found a legitimate way to bring him back and we can have more of that, awesome. I want to see more of that. So I'm not complaining at all. I mean, am I curious? Sure. But I'm curious about these movies anyway, so...
Yeah, I saw a lot of back and forth on this on social media, and I was just like, I definitely think it is a totally great idea to make up your mind with 100% certainty based on one photo. I think that makes perfect sense. And
Well,
you
it's
should
the internet. So,
you should decide. You should decide right now based on this photo if this movie is good or bad. So decide, Brendan, right now.
I'm going with it's going to be good.
I was like, oh, guys, okay, everybody needs to relax. That's just it. It's context. They're not keeping it a secret, obviously, for a reason. And there are many different things that could be going on here, and we don't know what that is. And I've seen all the theories. It could be a relative. It could be a vision. She could imagine she's having a conversation with Steve Trevor. It could be that he somehow survived and has come back to, well, not modern times, but within context of this film, it's modern times. It could be a villain toying with her by using Steve Trevor. There are many different things that could be happening here. I'm willing to go with it and see what it is before I make up my mind. I'm crazy like that. So the worst case scenario, the absolute worst case scenario, is that yes, he survived and he's back and he didn't die.
And he hasn't aged.
And he hasn't aged. That's the other thing. It's what, 60 years later? Not quite?
Something like that, yeah, around that.
Because it was like 1918. So this is 1984. It's more than 60 years.
Oh, yeah, almost 70.
So if this is the real Steve Trevor and he survived the accident in 1918 or 1919, what the hell was it? I want to say it was 18. Then he got sucked into some other dimension where he didn't age. Because 60 years would show. I don't care how much you take care of yourself. So there's that, right? He hasn't aged. That's a big red flag as to there's something else going on.
One of the things I saw was like, because he bathed in the waters of Themyscira, I don't know.
But the worst case is, yes, it's Steve Trevor, he survived, and he's back. That's the worst case. But guess what? I can deal with that. Because
I liked it.
I mean, well, yes, I did too. I agree with you. But at the same time, how many comic book films, both DC and non-DC, have we seen a death that didn't stick? Mm-hmm. All of them?
Yeah, and when Avengers 4 comes out next year, we're going to see a hell of a lot more.
90%? And it's happened within DC. We just saw the death and return of Superman. Just because Superman is back doesn't make his death at the end of Batman vs. Superman any less impactful. He's not to me, because he sacrificed himself for us all. So that's the worst case scenario, is that, okay, yes, he died, but he's back. I think Patty Jenkins and Geoff Johns, and Zack Snyder, who remains a producer on the film, are smart enough to know that there's something else going on here, or to write something. And I think it was one of those things where they loved working with Chris Pine. They wanted a return of Steve Trevor. I am sure they wrote a good reason for this to be the case without contradicting Batman versus Superman or Justice League. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
Call us crazy, but...
So even if it's the worst case scenario, I'm okay. My guess is it's something else.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, Patty Jenkins has earned my trust after the first film. Mm-hmm. So I'm with her to steal from the other franchise. I'm with her till the end of the line.
Yeah.
I love you, Patty Jenkins, and if you have a great reason that Steve Trevor is in this film, and I trust that you do, I'm willing to go with you.
God, I can't wait for this movie.
It just makes you feel good knowing that it's happening. Knowing that somewhere out there, Gal is in her Wonder Woman duds kicking some ass.
Speaking of which, but honestly, as time goes on, I do as Batman is my favorite superhero hands down. But the more time that passes and the more I think about that movie from last year, Wonder Woman could very well be reaching the top of the charts for me for superhero movies. I adore that film.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
So-
It was one of those where I was flipping channels and it was on, and then I just, before I knew it, I was watching. Like I got sucked in, and 20 minutes had passed. I was like, oh crap, I got other things I need to do. But it's one of those, the best movies that just suck you in no matter what. So
good.
the other shot of her, I think, is pretty awesome too. It was it was different. I'm a child of the 80s, so I'm all about seeing Wonder Woman go on an adventure in the 80s, and I love them leaning into it with these TVs and stuff. I thought it was super cool. I saw some speculation that she's in the jacket, so people wonder if she's going to be wearing that version of the costume at some point. My guess is she's in a mall, and so
Yeah.
she's probably just in her civilian attire, because it looks like Steve Trevor is also in a mall. Mm-hmm. So
With
I don't
some
think
really 80s looking extras.
they're awesome. These extras are the best. They actually all just came over from the Goldbergs and didn't have to change.
So this is Wonder Woman 1980 something?
Yeah.
Actually, I always thought the best thing to come out of 1984 was me, but if it's Wonder Woman in the Cold War, I'm happy to take second place. So
It goes Wonder Woman, Gremlins,
oh, okay.
then you.
I thought it was Wonder Woman, me, then Ghostbusters, but okay.
Oh yeah, sorry, Ghostbusters. That's in there too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was cool. And then was it today?
Last night for me. So what time is it now?
Yeah. It is
20 to 11. 20 to 10 in the morning for me on Sunday. Probably around about 13 hours ago, I would say. So
Okay.
Saturday night my time.
cool. So and then we got an additional photo today or yesterday, whatever.
The Gal tweeted.
That Gal shared this on Twitter as well, and it is our first shot from Wonder Woman 1984, where Wonder Woman is in the suit. And I saw it as I woke up. I went, awesome. She looks great. She looks like Wonder Woman. Terrific. Great.
Yep.
And I went on with my day, and then apparently people are fighting about this too.
Because it's bright.
Why are we? I don't understand. I don't understand anything anymore, Brendan.
No.
It's a photo of Wonder Woman. She looks like Wonder Woman. What is there to fight about? But
She
leave it
looks
to the internet.
amazing.
Leave it to the internet to find a reason to fight about a photo of Wonder Woman in a costume we've already seen.
Yeah, it's just is it the costume? Is it the fact that she's in a really brightly coloured room? Like I don't know. B, I don't care. It looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, she looks great. She looks like she should. She looks like Wonder Woman. It's the same costume.
Yes.
It's the, I do love that, sometimes I get a little over like giving Batman a new suit every movie. I don't think it's necessary, especially if it's not broken. I love that with Wonder Woman. They're like, no, we nailed it. Just that's her outfit. She just, that's what she wears. There is word that she will get a second suit of some sort in this film, which is fine. But I just love that it's like, no, they nailed the costume the first time out, and they continue to use it, and she looks amazing.
No, I agree. And there's also been some talk about her hair, whether it's sort of a more 80s style hair. To me, I don't know if it is. I think maybe the angle she's on too, it could just be the way that she's turned her head. Like her hair looks a little bit bigger. But
Yeah,
again,
it's not
even
like
if they do give a slightly 80s hair. It's set in 1984. I don't care.
Yeah, it's I mean, I guess, but yeah, it doesn't seem that different to what we've seen in the past that I didn't think twice about it.
No, neither did I.
But yeah, so she's out there kicking ass. Wonder Woman's coming back. I love it. Looks so cool.
Now we're just waiting for Cheetah.
I know. Ooh, I'm so excited. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, Wonder Woman 1984. It is deep in production, and it'll be very interesting. I couldn't be more excited. It makes me so happy that it is coming. So we'll be seeing it in theaters in a year and a couple of months, because it's next November.
Yeah, it's November's a big month for me. My two most anticipated movies for next year both come out that month, so I can't wait.
What's the other one? Is it Bond?
Bond 25, yeah.
Ah, okay. Because I totally pay attention to that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Wonder Woman is out there, and there started to be murmurs about Aquaman earlier this week, because there's like a CinemaCon Europe that was going on last week. And when that went on, apparently they saw a trailer for Aquaman. And there were little descriptions that came out, just that it was really cool and really exciting, and you know, nothing super specific or spoilery, but just it was received well. And then I want to say it was James Wan who said, you know, don't worry, you'll be seeing it soon.
Yeah.
Something like that.
A lot of people
Something
took it to mean that it was going to be out by now, like it was coming this week.
I know. Well, I mean, soon could be very soon, but it's all relative. So yeah, we did wonder what that meant. Oh, it's coming soon. We know there's a trailer. We know it's finished. So, and I even got a message from one of the listeners. I want to say it was Dave White. Apologies if it wasn't, but he even said, "Hey, like, we're now so close to Comic-Con. Why would they not just hold it to Comic-Con?" And I said, you know, I wonder the same thing, because we are so close, but at the same time, you know, Incredibles 2 came out this weekend, Jurassic Park comes out next weekend, and then people will continue being in movie theaters through the 4th of July holiday. And so there could have just been a decision of, oh, we'll release it earlier so it can be in theaters for these big movies that are coming out now. And so I could see it both ways. I was like, maybe that's why. And so we were just kind of keeping our ear to the ground, waiting to see what was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, the other day, the day after this Wonder Woman stuff, we got some photos from Entertainment Weekly. We got some covers and some photos from Entertainment Weekly, because Entertainment Weekly is finally doing their first big feature on Aquaman. And this is the beginning of promotion. And I think James Wan even said that when he retweeted it or shared it. He goes, okay, it's begun. And so we got a lot of Aquaman goodies over the past couple of days, thanks to EW. Now, the article is not on the website because they want you to buy the magazine, but all the photos are on the website. So I got some of the info from the article, but if nothing else, we got the photos. So there were two covers. One cover was just a close-up of Jason Momoa sopping wet. It says Aquaman.
I'm sure he wasn't the only one.
Yeah, that's what I have heard. And then the other one was him front and center, but behind him was Amber Heard as Mera and Nicole Kidman as Queen Atlanta. So
I love this shot. I love this cover's awesome.
We got our very first look at Queen Atlanta, and as well as our first, well, we'd already seen Mera because James Wan tweeted out a photo of her over a year ago when they started shooting. But this is, you know, our first promo shot of Mera. And and then Jason Momoa, looking like Jason Momoa, standing front and center. And
so much hotness on that cover.
There's a lot going on here. For me, Mera was the standout.
Oh yeah.
She just looks so good. And
she's amazing.
I mean, and yes, she looks hot. But it's not just that she looks hot, but she just looks exactly like Mera. Like, the costume is just spot on. The red hair, the way she's looking, like so. Aside from just looking attractive, she just looks like Mera straight off the comic book page, which just makes my geek heart happy.
Yep, I'm with you there.
So she couldn't look better. I could ask for nothing more when it comes to Mera. Momoa is still in his civvies, so I saw a little bit of complaining about, oh, he's not in his costume, which I'm sure is coming. In fact, some of the other photos he is, but for this one, he's wearing his civilian attire, and then Queen Atlanta is kind of this very light crystalline sky blue outfit with her crown, and so yeah, this one for me, of the two, as much as I love a extreme close-up of Jason Momoa's wet face, I much prefer this one. It's fantastic. I think, you know, Momoa looks like Momoa, great. I think that Atlanta looks good, but for me, Mera, she takes the taco. Yep,
I'm with you 100%.
So yeah, that was super cool. And then we got a bunch of photos elsewhere. And if I could find the damn things, what did I do? They put in this stupid slideshow that it's not ideal.
The stupid like captions they've given every one of them.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh,
the captions that Tim Rooney would just love.
Oh. So the first one is it looks like it's from the same scene of our official first look, which we got January-ish, also from EW. Yeah. It's the same scene where he's in a submarine, bare-chested in jeans, and the caption, "Yeah, boy," or "buoy."
Yeah.
It says Aquaman storms a submarine under attack by pirates, and so he's coming down a ladder, and there's just a big splash of water behind him.
Yep.
I don't have much to say other than cool.
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah, works for me. There is another shot of Arthur and Mara in, again, civilian attire up on the surface. They look like they're amongst some sort of ruins and looking at a map, maybe. And it says Arthur Curry and Mara embark on a quest on the surface world.
Now, have we seen an image similar to this before? Or have we seen a shot of Amber Heard in this attire before? Because this looked kind of familiar.
I don't recall, but that doesn't mean it's not out there.
It could have been a set photo. I don't know. I just feel like I've seen these costumes before.
Mm-hmm. What excites me about this image is the fact that the two of them are teaming up to go on this quest together.
Yes.
And that's what it should be. I love that. So that's awesome. Next one, this one got a lot of excitement. Nautical by nature. It says High Seas mercenary Black Manta tackles a prototype for his supersuit and prepares to raise hell, but raise RAYS. Why'd you do that? Why'd you have to do that? So we see Black Manta, and his name's hard. Yahya Abdul Mateen?
The second.
The second?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not making it easy on us, but okay.
I'm glad you tackled that one because I was not going to try.
It doesn't roll off the tongue, but so yeah, it is him in a tank top, out of costume, but staring at his helmet on a table, and this got a lot of people very excited because the helmet is Black Manta.
Oh, 100%.
It's Black Manta, just like Mara. I was like, oh, that's a drawing from a DC comic, but with a real life person. This helmet is the drawing from a DC comic, but in person.
Yeah, I don't know. Just from this photo too, I get the vibe that it could be one of those things where the Manta character is communicating to. Do you know what I mean? Like sort of communicating to him. He might be fighting it or something, but it looks like some sort of struggle. With that he's like looking at the helmet like that character's telling him something.
I didn't think of it that way.
That's how I took it.
Like a Green Goblin and Spider-Man thing?
Yeah, kind of, but not as bad.
Yeah, I just thought he was like looking at the new version of the helmet or something. But the helmet is exciting. It's perfect because we all just want Black Manta to look like Black Manta, and so far so good. I do want more of a straight-on shot because this is in profile.
Yeah.
So I want to see the whole thing, but I get it. We get our first glimpse. I get it.
It's a tease.
It's a tease. This whole thing is a tease, but it's good. I was very pleased by this, and our friend Sean Gerber, who's another big who he's been banging the drum for Black Manta for as long as I've known him, he was pleased, and so I was like, okay, if you got past the Sean Gerber seal of approval, then we're in good shape.
Yeah.
The next, oh geez, these captions. The next,
my favorite.
Oh my god, the next one is Aquaman in his full Atlantean armor, facing off against Orm in his armor, and they're looking straight at each other. It looks like there is lava running down on the sides, and then there's a bright blue light between them, and the caption is resting beach face. And it says Aquaman faces off with his ambitious half-brother King Orm, who wants to declare war on the surface world.
Looks good. It's just my thing for all these photos. Like, it looks good. Like, what
looks
else
perfect. Can you say? Looks great. I love the armor on Aquaman. I love the armor on Orm. Patrick Wilson looks amazing. I've been a huge Patrick Wilson fan for a lot of years, and I think that he looks great. He's holding his helmet in his hand. I can't really see it, which is frustrating, but again, it's a tease.
Yeah.
It's a tease, but looks terrific. I'm just as, I know it's not the popular opinion, but I'm just as excited about Orm as I am about Black Manta, because I think Ocean Master is a great character, and I think Patrick Wilson is a great actor. So
Ocean Master's a really good character. Black Manta just has that look though, and sort of the
Black Manta's the more badass.
Yeah,
Totally, I get it, and I love that they're not leaving anything on the table. They're going all in. They're like, let's just treat this as if we're only going to get to make one Aquaman movie. So you get Ocean Master and Black Manta.
but I mean, if you're going to have like a solo Aquaman movie, you kind of need to have Orm first.
I always thought so too, just because so much of it is about them being brothers.
Yeah, and it's tied into his origin, and he needs to be there.
Yeah. But I love that. But I would have been disappointed if they had done only Orm.
Yes.
So I love that that's not the case. James Wan, we love you. Good for you. That's amazing.
Speaking of James Wan,
he's in the next photo, The Sunken Place. So it says James Wan directs Heard and Momoa inside a galleon as they encounter Aquaman's mentor Vulko. So this is
speaking of Green Goblin.
Yeah. Welcome back to comics, my friend. So yeah, we've got Mera full costume, we've got Aquaman, and then just the back of Vulko, who in an Atlantean suit, and then James Wan doing the whole director thing of like, framing up the shot. So this is all in this sunken ship, and in the footage that we saw last Comic-Con, all we got was Aquaman in this sunken ship saying, "Oh, you don't want to talk about this? Good, me either." And he's got a sword. And so I'd been trying to describe this ship for almost a year now, going, it's kind of Pirates of the Caribbean. Think the Flying Dutchman, Davy Jones, but a little more colorful, a little more blue. And so now that this is out, you guys know what I've been trying to describe for a year. So that's what it is. This is where the footage took place in the little teaser that we got at last year's Comic-Con.
It looks great. It's a really nice setting.
Well, and I'm, you know this, but I love the first 3 Pirates films. I love that world. I love that aesthetic. And so if they're, like, I love using a similar aesthetic for Aquaman, because it should be, right? It just makes sense. And so this sunken ship full of barnacles and seaweed and treasure and shafts of light, like, it's just a perfect environment for Aquaman. So I love that, like, they're using that aesthetic for this. It's just perfect.
And you mentioned the Pirates movies. This is shot at the same location as the last Pirates movie, so
perfect. Maybe they just bought the Flying Dutchman and cleaned it up.
Never know. It's shot about 80 minutes down the road from where I live.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I love this. I love, for me, the environment here is just so cool. It's fantastical. It's exciting. It's interesting. It's great. And then jumping the sharks. So this one is amazing. So this one is a wide shot. This is my current cover photo, and is underwater, and you've got the statues of the 7 kings of the 7 different kingdoms of Atlantis underwater, and then 2 armies facing off, the warriors of Zabel riding sea dragons, and apparently that is the army of, wait for it, oh God, what the heck? It was in here. Here we go. King Nereus. So yeah, King Nereus, who's being played by Dolph Lundgren. That is his army on the sea dragons. So they're essentially badass seahorses. I love that James Wan is like, hey, you know the old cliche of Aquaman riding a seahorse? We're doing it, and we're going to make it cool.
I can't wait.
And then Orm's army is riding great white sharks. While Orm rides it looks almost like a dinosaur, and Vulko rides a hammerhead shark, and they're facing off, and it looks so awesome. Might be my favorite.
I love it.
So there was a little more insight that was shared on this one. It says this is an ancient meeting place called the Council of the Kings that's fallen into ruin. It's not in Atlantis, but in the outskirts. When Atlantis sunk into the ocean, it split into 7 kingdoms, and each statue represents one of the original kings. The Atlantean army on the right rides great white sharks into battle. That's I'm just so happy. It's like Christmas. I can't ask for anything more.
Yeah,
It's the best thing I've ever heard.
If this was the only photo they released this week, you would have the same reaction, and we would have been talking about it for the same amount of time.
It's the greatest thing I've ever heard of. Thank you. This is what I wanted. I've wanted this my entire life. Oh, I'm so happy. So Orm's army rides great whites. The producer, Peter Safran, says, when you see this Atlantean army riding these sharks, it's so photoreal, it blows you away. Yes, wow. Please. Yes, please.
I'll take 2.
Utah, get me 2. King Nereus of the Kingdom Zabel, they ride sea dragons. James Wan wanted to create these fearsome creatures as a way of subverting the comic image of Aquaman riding a seahorse. And then, yes, Orm rides a Tylosaur, while Vulko rides a black hammerhead shark. And so not only did we get this shot that's from the film, we also got the concept art that inspired it.
Yeah.
So
beautiful too.
Oh God, it's so beautiful. Like, this is just the most beautiful thing I've ever. Here's the thing. I'm not just excited because it's DC, but of course I'm excited that it's DC. I've always loved the idea and the imagery that surrounds the idea of Atlantis.
Yes.
That's for me, that's just always something that's been fascinating. And I love the different versions. Like, I've loved seeing it in theme parks, and I've loved seeing it in cartoons. And Atlantis to me has just always been interesting. And I've always had a version of Atlantis in my mind of what I wanted to see on a movie screen. And so far, this is it. Like, this is the Atlantis I've been waiting to see. And so I couldn't be more happy about it.
No, I agree.
So, yeah, that shot could be my favorite. We see the scope, we see the creatures, we see the armies, we see the characters. We get the glimpse of what this underwater world looks and feels like. Oh, but along those lines, in here somewhere, again, I haven't read the full article because I didn't buy the magazine because it's 2018. But they did ask James Wan, like, oh, how are you going to have people speak underwater? And I love his response. I love James Wan. He's my favorite. He said, people are overthinking it. They're just going to talk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why,
I mean,
why make it hard?
Yeah, that was honestly, that was a mistake in Justice League. I mean, it looked really cool. The aesthetic was nice, but when you've got an Aquaman movie coming, it raised a lot of questions, sort of unnecessarily, I think.
It didn't bother me in the slightest in Justice League, but you can't do a whole movie like that.
No.
So don't overthink it. Just do it. Man, if everyone who makes a superhero movie could hear that, please. So many times the hoops they jump through to like justify comic book tropes, I'm like, people will just buy it. Just do it. Anyway, I thought that was awesome. And then I think this is the last shot. It says, till the sea, son.
'Tis the season.
Oh, 'tis the season. There we go. That makes more sense. Queen Atlanta protects a young Arthur Curry. So we've got Nicole Kidman as Atlanta in that cool crystally blue dress holding a child who is young Arthur.
Mm-hmm. I'm really glad that she didn't take the role in Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think this is going to be better suited to her.
Yeah, I do too. Because number one, once I saw Wonder Woman and Connie Nielsen as Hippolyta, I was like, she's perfect. I love her.
Yeah.
Don't change a thing. So, and then this still gives Nicole Kidman another chance to be a part of the DC universe for the first time ever. For the first time ever. But no, you're right. Like it's a great role for her. I think it worked out well for everyone involved. So I'm all for it.
I just can't see Nicole being such a badass warrior like Hippolyta is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's an actress; she can act. But I just think this. I can't see her being such a warrior. I see her as sort of more of a gentle queen.
Mm-hmm.
I could be completely wrong. I'm basing this on 2 photos, but you know what I mean.
No, please make up your mind about Nicole Kidman's performance based on this photo right now.
Yeah.
We're on the internet. That's how it works.
I think she's going to be gentle and she'll be good. Mine made up.
All right, perfect. That sounds great. So yeah, no, I think that this looks awesome. And yeah, like to me, this, it says protects a young Arthur Curry, but to me, before I read the caption, this to me looked like her saying goodbye to Arthur Curry.
Yeah, it has that look about it. I'm assuming this would be. Do you think it would be Arthur's father? Who she's.
That was my guess. Is that she's saying goodbye before handing over Arthur to his father?
Yeah. It's definitely. Yeah, it's a very it's an emotional look on her face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see.
Little Arthur looks cute though. That mop of hair and.
That you can tussle and go, oh, you little scoundrel.
In my mind, I'm picturing that he's got like little scale tattoos underneath that top. Like
he does. They tattooed him at birth, so they knew.
Yeah,
they knew he was going to grow up to be Jason Momoa. They're like, let's just do it now,
because it won't hurt. He won't remember it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like circumcision.
I was just about to say. I was like, do I say no? I won't. Then you took it for me, so great.
Yeah, might as well. We all know it's a thing.
It's true.
So yeah, that's about it. So because all this happened, which was awesome, like great, we launched the Aquaman promotion, lots of great looks here, and so all of us, myself included, I was guilty too. I was like, well, they launched promotion. We know there's a trailer that's finished. Maybe we are getting it this week. Maybe they didn't want to wait and we're getting a trailer this week. And you and I even went back and forth about it going, well, we'll see if the trailer comes. And James Wan, because he's a smart fella, he was like, I better shut this down. And he immediately tweets out the next day a promotional image, Aquaman trailer premiere, San Diego Comic-Con 2018.
Yeah.
And I think he put something like Comic-Con's going to be awesome this year or something.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. But
yeah, like logo.
Yeah, and it was a new logo as well. It's more of a crystal light blue looking logo.
I really like it.
Oh, me too. It's great. I loved
the look of the logo and that crystal blue in there. I think it looks really, really nice.
Yes. So here's what James Wan said, so you don't have to tweet me. It says, Comic-Con will be insane. This is the new Glyph logo, freshly smuggled out of Atlantis, stolen off King Orm's belt buckle. So, yeah, it's great. It's awesome. I love that he did this to just put things to rest and go, okay, guys, you just got a bunch of photos. You got an article. Hold off another month, and then you're going to get a trailer. So... Yeah. It just kind of stopped everything dead in its tracks in a good way, instead of people being like, well, where's the trailer? Where's the trailer? Why isn't it out yet?
They're shutting it down.
Shut it down. It was so smart. And so I love that he did this. And he did it before. Some blogger was the one who was like, oh, Aquaman trailer at WonderCon, count on it. And then all the fans latched onto that. And... James Wan, God bless him, addressed it after that didn't happen. He was like, guys, I know you're excited. That's great, but I am not releasing a trailer till it's ready. And I'm sorry, I never said it was coming out at WonderCon. And so he's doing the same thing here. Like he shut it down then going, I know you guys wanted one, but it was never planned to come out this week. And so now same thing. It's like, no, Comic-Con, just wait for Comic-Con. So now we all know. But it was so funny. I saw some fan text him back or tweet him back with like, oh, it's even worse knowing that I have to wait a month or something like that. And he just responded with a gif of Eeyore going, I just can't win.
I mean, like, anticipation's a good thing.
I know.
Guys, like sometimes foreplay can be really, really good.
Yeah, so it's great that we now know. And exactly, we just got so much stuff. It's okay. And the thing about Comic-Con this year is Warner Brothers and DC they've kind of got the stage to themselves because Marvel Studios is sitting this one out. And I think I just saw that Game of Thrones is sitting it out too. And so is Star Wars. And so like... Warner Brothers gets to be the big gorilla this year. So if you want to make
is going to be in Hall H on that? Because it's usually,
I don't know.
Is it Warner Brothers and then like one or two other big ones on the Sunday?
Yeah, Saturday
night.
Yeah, Saturday it's always chock full of cool stuff. So like last year it was Warner Brothers and it was Stranger Things and it was Westworld and then it was Marvel. And there's another one in there. So yeah, like Saturday is always stacked with big stuff. And so it will be very interesting to see what is this year. Because if it's just WB, there was the other year that Marvel Studios sat out, Fox was the final presentation on Saturday. And it was okay, but it's not Marvel Studios, you know?
No, yeah.
So I do wonder if maybe Fox will try and do that again or someone else will try to slip into that spot, but it'll be interesting to see. If it's nothing good, then after WB, I can go back to the hotel and pass out.
Okay, yeah, that works.
I win either way.
Do it.
So I mean, DC gets to run the show this year, and so if you want to save all your heavy hitters for another month, I totally understand that.
Yeah, when the news broke that, you know, look, it could be coming this week and everything, I was of the mind, even though I understand that, you know, with the because I did think, you know, Jurassic World's coming out soon and everything. I was sort of like, look, if they've waited this long, and no pun intended, if they want to make a splash at Comic-Con, like just give it another couple of weeks. Like, it's not that far off, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could go, like, I would have understood it either way.
Yeah.
And so that's why I just was like, I don't know. But because of the word of the trailer already being done and then getting all this EW stuff, I'm like, well, maybe it is. Maybe they're going to go all in now. So I didn't know. But now we do know, and we don't have to worry about it. Take a break for another month, and we'll do this again.
Yep. Can't wait.
Yeah. So, super exciting. Anyway, there's lots of stuff going on with DC Films, and I can't wait till Comic-Con. I'm not going to sleep for a month waiting for it. But in the meantime, I loved these little glimpses that we got. We got glimpses of Atlantis. We got glimpses of Black Manta. We got glimpses of Atlanta and Mara and of Orm. I mean, we were spoiled this week. It was wonderful.
Look, it was. As much as I loved all the Aquaman stuff, my highlight of what we've talked about thus far was the Wonder Woman photo last night.
Mm-hmm.
I just love it. I love her. I love that movie. I can't wait for the sequel. I can't wait.
No, I can't argue with that. Agreed. So, lots of exciting things happening with DC movies. I can't wait for more, but we have to wait for more because that's the way time works. But the good thing is we have no shortage of DC content to enjoy in the comfort of our own homes. So we are going to continue our journey and take a look at the next episode of the new Batman Adventures. I guess you could also call it Batman the Animated Series V2 or something. But anyway, yes, let's do that.
I just still call it Season 4.
Yeah, it's both. It's, I guess, sure.
My box set says Season 4, so that's what I go with.
That works for me. So last time we talked about holiday nights, we agreed that it was awkward to watch it in June, but we did it anyway, and we survived it. And so now we've moved on to episode number 2 of either season 4 or the new Batman Adventures, depending on how you look at it. And this is Sins of the Father. So this is our introduction to the animated version of Tim Drake. We see that Tim Drake is living on his own, and his father had abandoned him. And so Two-Face comes looking for Mr. Drake because Mr. Drake used to work for him. And this leads to Tim having a run-in with Two-Face and his gang. Batman ends up saving him, but then Batman gets injured. So Tim ends up accompanying Batman back to the Batcave, where then Batgirl is called in, and they go off to stop Two-Face. Tim Drake decides he wants to be a part of it, even though Batman told him to stay where he was. And so he dons the old Robin costume, joins the fray, and he, Batgirl, and Batman take down Two-Face. And as the episode ends, Tim Drake is now going to be trained as the new Robin. So, Brendan, overall thoughts of Sins of the Father?
I see this as the real first episode of season 4.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know why that Holiday Nights is the one that let it off, particularly given that I think it premiered in the States in September or something. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, be that as it may, I really like this episode. It's a great introduction to the Tim Drake character. There's a few little inconsistencies there that are like minor nitpicks that only, I don't know, someone like me would notice. But with the you say the original Robin costume, it looks nothing like the original Robin costume. And
I thought the same thing, where they imply that it's Dick's costume, and you're like, but that's not. Dick never wore that costume. And
also Tim's like half the size of Dick, that he was in the earlier seasons. So there's that, but I can overlook that. It's a good little adventure. Similar to like the Joker nitpick that I had last week as well. I don't like a lot of these character designs, and Two-Face, even though it's very close to what we got in the original, just that trimmed down look, something looks off with Two-Face. I don't love it. So that detracts a little bit. Story wise though, it's great. It's a really, really solid episode. I've seen all of Batman the Animated Series multiple times, but because I didn't see any of season 4 until I was in my 20s, I don't have the memory for a lot of these season 4 episodes like I do the first 3, because I didn't watch them over and over and over and over from the ages of 9 to 15 or whatever. And so when I saw like Sins of the Father, I was like, what is this one again? And as soon as it started, I couldn't remember that this episode came so early. I think I confused this episode and the one later on with where Dick tells the story of how they fell apart.
Right.
But it's a great Batman story. It focuses on Tim Drake Robin, which I know you ain't going to complain about. It's a really good episode, and little things too, like Tim, because he is a kid, referring to Two-Face as puke face and stuff like that. They're just little touches that, I don't know, appeal to me for some reason. But yeah, solid episode, really enjoy it. And after watching it, I was like, I need to remember this one. Like, I need to, because this is one I'd like to revisit. In the not too near future. Actually, I'd love to watch it again. It's a great episode.
Yeah. You hear this?
Same page.
It's the same page. Yeah, I agree with almost everything you said. I don't know if I've ever seen this episode.
Oh,
I must
really?
have it. I mean, I must have, maybe. But like you said, I know Batman the Animated Series so well.
Yeah.
But because this is when they changed networks to the WB, which eventually became the CW, I kind of lost track of the show at this point. Plus, at that time, I was also kind of down on the new art style, so I was like, it's not the same, I'm not going to watch it, because I was young and petulant.
See, I don't even recall getting these episodes over here. Honestly,
okay.
Like, I remember that I'd see some advertisements in the odd comic that I'd still pick up around that time, because this was a time period for me where it was more about girls and music. I'd sort of let some of this stuff go. I honestly don't recall ever seeing it broadcast over here, and that's why when the box set came out in the States in like late 2005, I was into my 20s and I ordered it, and that was the first time I saw any of these.
Well, and that's exactly it. Is the first show started in 1992. This is 97. This is 5 years later. So you're right. We're older, and we're not keeping as much track of cartoons as we probably were 5 years prior.
which we're all over now, funnily enough, and we're in our 30s.
You loop back around.
You do.
Eventually. But yes, but you're right. At this point, I was like first year of college. So I had a lot going on, and I wasn't finding the time for Batman the Animated Series. So I missed a lot of these, I think. So I think you're going to hear a lot of this as we go through this final season or the new Batman Adventures. Is you're going to hear a lot of me going, yeah, I don't know if I ever saw this one, because this was when I kind of lost track of it. So if I had seen this, I don't remember it. It was like watching it for the first time. I do love that it is the animated origin of Tim Drake, and I agree with you. This is really the premiere of the new Batman Adventures. This is the episode that sets the new status quo. This is the episode that says, oh, Dick is no longer Robin. He's gone. They leave that to be told at a later time, but there's no longer a Robin. We meet Tim Drake. Tim Drake becomes the new Robin. We know that Batgirl is now a more permanent member of the Bat family. So we see where things are now in this new version. And it works in that respect. I don't have the issue with Two-Face's redesign, because for me, it's so slight that I'm like, it's close enough. Doesn't really bother me.
I think I would have preferred them to actually go all the way and change it, because it's so similar to what we had, but it just looks off.
Yeah. I mean, it's, for me, close enough. It is just a little more streamlined, a little slimmer, but for me, that's fine. I don't mind that. I do love that it is Tim Drake focused. It's interesting how they rewrote Tim Drake's origin for this. I think at this point, Tim Drake was still a relatively new character. And so I guess they didn't feel like they had to be slavish to the origin from the comics. And so they just wrote their own. So I have some mixed feelings about that, just because at this point, like, there are certain very important things about Tim Drake that this doesn't really address, like the fact that Tim Drake himself is extremely smart. He is a detective. The reason he became Robin is because he sought out Batman, because Batman needed a Robin. And so all that stuff is lost in this. It's just a reimagining. There are little bits of it seasoned in here. So you see that when you see the apartment, there's all these papers and newspapers up about Batman. So it shows that, oh, Tim has an interest in Batman. But unlike the comics, Tim doesn't know who Batman's secret identity is. He finds out over the course of this episode. The element with Tim Drake's dad abandoning him, I think is accurate. I think that is inspired from what is in the comics. Rob Myers would know better than I, and he's probably yelling at his podcast app at the moment. But I think that is accurate, just because I know what eventually happens to Tim Drake's father. So Tim Drake's father, it was alive in the comics, but was out of the picture when he became Robin. So I think that is the same. They definitely add shades of Jason Todd to his character in this, of him being this street smart street kid who's stealing stuff to stay alive. That was a very Jason Todd thing, not a Tim Drake thing, but they wove that into Tim Drake because, again, at this time, Jason Todd's dead and there was he wasn't going to come back. And so I think the comics just jumped over Jason Todd and were like, well, Tim is just a little bit of Jason, but mostly Tim. I think it's interesting that they did make him a kid.
Yes.
And again, I remember when this happened, I didn't like the kid as much because he looked a little too kiddie, and I liked the cooler, older Robin from the animated series. So I know that at that point, again, at the time, it was an adjustment because I was like, oh, like he's so young, it's a little weird. But anyway, it was an interesting take on a different origin for Tim Drake to eventually get to the same place where this now is going to become the new Robin. I do like that they set up from the beginning that he can take care of himself. He is capable. He does have abilities. He found this Batarang he's very good with. I was very impressed with his abilities of the Batarang. And just setting up how he ends up becoming the new Robin. It's funny that you mentioned the costume because I thought the same exact thing. I'm like, number one, Dick Grayson never wore that. And number two, if he did, it wouldn't fit you.
No, exactly.
I thought it was cool how Alfred gave him a little nudge towards it. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. What did you think? Because this also is the introduction of the new Batmobile, which was not in Holiday Nights.
It's fine. I don't like, and you know, the more episodes I'm on where we're looking at season 4, it's going to keep coming back to this. I just don't love a lot of the redesigns.
Yeah.
That original Batmobile for me, like you said before with the Batman costumes, with a lot of things, it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, I've never been a big fan of this Batmobile. I mean, I guess it kind of looks okay. It's just the fact that it's just kind of that straight black. It doesn't have any real personality to me. Like we talked about Joker last week. Like I think the Catwoman redesign is atrocious. How she's got that sort of blue colored skin. Like the stories are still top notch, except for the Farmer Brown episode, but you'll tackle that at some point. But yeah, I don't love the aesthetic in this season, and yeah, it just irks me.
Yeah, I mean, of course I prefer the original animated Batmobile. It is more iconic. It's just more dramatic.
Yeah.
This one is a little more generic, but I still like it.
I like the boat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the boat's cool too.
I like the boat, how it's sort of like a sub and a boat. Like I like the look of that one. It kind of almost looks like the Batski boat from Batman Returns almost. But yeah, the Batmobile's just kind of it is what it is.
Right. Yeah. I again, I like it. I don't love it. And when I think of the animated Batmobile, I always forget that this one exists.
Yeah.
So when I saw them jump in it, I went, "Oh yeah, that's right. There was a second one." And it's not bad, but yeah, you're right. So much wasn't broken, but they still tried to fix it, and I just don't know why. But I do love this episode. I like that it's Robin centric or becomes Robin centric. I love that Batgirl is just a regular partner now. I love that she's just around and that Alfred calls her when Batman's in a pinch. I think that's super cool. It almost feels like a better version of I've Got Batman in My Basement.
Kind of, I guess.
Because Batman gets injured and now this kid has to help him. And in that one, it's just some random kid. And in here, it's Tim Drake, which gets him back to the Batcave and it goes to much more interesting places.
Although I know it's not popular opinion, I like that episode.
I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
I think it gets a bum rap, but this is a better version.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's Tim Drake. Now, but in this episode, again, I don't know where Tim was in the comics at this point. The time, my time's all messed up. But in this, they do, to kind of cover their butts, they go, oh yeah, Tim's father ended up dying. They found a John Doe with his fingerprints. So to kind of just make a clean break to go, okay, now it makes sense that Bruce would adopt this kid.
Because wasn't there a period in the comics where his dad was still in the picture and he knew he was Robin?
Yes.
Am I remembering that? Yeah, and he didn't want him to do it anymore, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I know, like in the comics, his dad came back into the picture, and there was a point where Tim was Robin while living with his dad, but still hanging out with Batman, and there was like this weird, not love triangle, but father triangle thing going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I like that they take on Two-Face. So I really like this episode too. Mm-hmm. So, closing thoughts, letter grades.
There's not really anything else I can add. As far as a closing thought, it's a great episode. I'm glad being on this episode this week. I kind of got to rediscover it. Really solid episode of the animated series for any season. I would give this one. I'd give it an A.
Nice. And yeah, I think it's a great episode. I love seeing Tim introduced into this world. I think it's a big banner moment because, and I've mentioned this in the past with other things, but whenever a new character, and he wasn't that new by 1997, but whenever a character jumps from the comic page into another medium, that is what cements that character for the long haul.
Yep.
Because there have been a lot of characters that have been like introduced in the comics and then just sort of forgotten about, and you go back and now they're these little footnotes. But if a character is popular enough in the comics to make the jump to TV, movies, animation, video games, once they make that jump, I feel like it's a huge red flag that this character's not going anywhere. And so to have Tim Drake embraced by the animated series and brought into that continuity meant Tim Drake is here to stay.
Yeah.
And I think that's great.
And this would be probably the more well-known origin, really, for maybe a whole generation who might not have read the comics, but they watched this cartoon religiously.
Yeah, that's probably true. You're not wrong.
It's the origin I remember.
Well, there you have it. It's the origin I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I do love the way it ends because the entire episode has this mystery of like, well, what happened to the first Robin? And they acknowledge Dick, but they never say what happened to him. And so the episode ending with Bruce laying down these new rules for Tim of, hey, if you're going to do this, you better give me your all. I make the rules. And then to have Dick then step in and go, oh, that last one's a killer. And just so we know as audience, Dick is still out there. He's okay. He didn't die. Maybe they were teasing the death because people know about the death of Robin. But just that little appearance by Dick, a little bit older, a little bit wiser to help set up then what we will eventually learn later, I thought was really great. A great way to end it.
Bit more of a mullet.
I feel like I didn't see the mullet in this shot. He will eventually, but I don't know if I saw it in this.
I think it's in a ponytail.
Oh, yeah, the unfortunate mullet. But yeah, it's a great episode. I'm with you. It's an A. I think it's a great Batman adventure. It's a great setup of a new Robin. I really liked it, so it's an A.
I called it. Actually, I think you said you're going to give it an A+.
You said A+, so don't tell me about me, okay?
I don't know you at all. We're strangers.
Come on. So anyway, there you go. Sins of the Father, the next episode. The next episode after Sins of the Father is Cold Comfort, which we just covered recently in the Mr. Freeze saga. So go back to listen to that. Mr. Freeze saga would be part 2. So we're going to jump over that and go to Double Talk. So if you're following along, Double Talk from the new Batman Adventures is your homework. Now what we're going to do is what we always do and hear what you have to say as we crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, first email here is from David Wang. It says, Dear Andy, Jamie, Brendan, and whoever, congratulations on tying a bow on the coverage of Batman the Animated Series. It's the end of an era. I also noticed the absence of this Holy BatCast segment back in last year, but I didn't bring it up because I thought it was because the regular DC News coverage plus emails was enough to stretch the show to 2 hours apiece. You're correct, David. That's exactly what happened. So I'm glad you brought it back. I look forward to the new Batman series. Speaking of which, we all know the DCAU really blew up in terms of continuity and crossover with Superman the Animated Series, where Superman began to interact with fellow heroes like Steel, Dr. Fate, The Flash, Aquaman, and probably most importantly, Batman. I wonder if you could cover the Batman-Superman DCAU crossover episodes, World's Finest, Nighttime, and The Demon Reborn, before starting on the new Batman adventures. If it's a slow news week, perhaps those can all be one episode. As I recall, there's also going to be a Batman episode where Batgirl teams up with Supergirl down the line. So there's definitely quid pro quo between the shows. Sincerely, David. David, thank you for the message. And well, we can't do it before we start the new Batman Adventures because we've already started the new Batman Adventures, but we will definitely cover the World's Finest crossover at some point because that kind of counts as an animated movie.
It does. And I have to admit, that nighttime episode, it's really good too. Are you familiar with that one?
Yes, that's the one where Superman takes Batman's place.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great one.
I love that episode.
What I remember is Tim coaching him.
Yes.
On what to do.
Yeah, really good episode, that one.
Oh,
I'd love
great.
to talk about that one.
Yeah, we'll get there. Next message here is from Braden McCoy. It says, Hey guys, I'm so happy you've been staying on track with the animated series reviews. You're nearing the end though, so what animated series will you be reviewing episode by episode next? I recommend Batman Beyond. I know you guys don't love it, but I feel for the most part it's a really good show. I think season 1 is particularly strong. Also, Jamie needs to see the show in its entirety. If you pick another show to do before this, it's fine. Superman the Animated Series and Justice League are great as well. Maybe when you finally finish the reviews of Batman the Animated Series, you could let the listeners vote on which show you review next. Sorry if this message went too long. Keep up the great work, Braden. Braden, thank you for the message. That's great. We haven't decided what we're doing, but I'm kind of open. I don't know. My hunch is we should do it chronologically. Like what came after the new Batman Adventures, and maybe jump to that.
Was Beyond before Justice League? I can't remember. I think it might have been.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. It's like if Beyond came first, then maybe it's Beyond. If Justice League came first, maybe it's Justice League. Would it be against the rules to do Superman the Animated Series? I don't know. My 2 cents, not that you asked for it. This is where, if we were having this conversation online, this is where you'd throw that bloody gif at me of Jack Nicholson in the first Batman movie. I didn't ask. I didn't ask.
I mean, I think that you, as much as I don't like the series, I think you kind of have to cover Batman Beyond. But then just sort of sticking with the, the holy BatCast theme, I'd be tempted to maybe move straight on to the next Batman solo series, which would be The Batman. But I think a lot of that too is just me being impatient because I love that series and I feel it doesn't get enough love, which we've talked about before. So I'd like to really bring it into the focus. And just cover that series because I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Noted. I'll keep it in mind. Thank you. All right, next message here is from Andrew Haskell. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast family, will Black Manta and Ocean Master form an alliance in the Aquaman movie to go after Arthur?" What do you think, Brendan?
Maybe, I don't know. I think it's possible. I mean, there's 2 villains in it. They both don't like Arthur, I'm assuming. So you could have the usual superhero movie trope where the 2 villains team up. I guess. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, my guess is yes.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, I'm the same as you. It's like, maybe, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Next message here is from Christopher Higgins. It says, "Hey guys, my wife has a theory that if Heath Ledger was still alive, he would have made a cameo as the Judge where we saw Jonathan Crane in The Dark Knight Rises. I totally believe this, and it would have been a great homage to Judge Joker from the animated series. What do you think, CJ Higgins?" Brendan, what do you think?
I think if Heath had have stayed with us, The Dark Knight Rises would have been a completely different film. I don't think it would have been just cameos. I think he would have played a much bigger role in that movie.
Yeah, I had heard that too about the Judge, and I don't know if that was ever confirmed or not. Maybe it was just other fans speculating that would have been a great place to put him. I could see it. Why not? I do wonder if Brendan's onto something, if it would have been more than just a cameo, if he would have been a little more involved with everything at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. I just the way the second movie ended and setting up the whole "you and I are going to do this forever." I'm not saying he would have been the main villain in a third film, but yeah, I don't think it would have played out the way that it did. And I don't know. I just can't imagine him even because he's so chaotic. I don't think. I mean, not that court has any. What's the word I'm looking for? Sort of has any. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. Everyone's guilty anyway. That just seems too organized for him. That take on the I don't know. I've always been in the belief that we would have, if Heath had have stayed with us, we would have had a completely different film.
Yeah, probably true. So interesting to think about. And then one last message here is from Elder Murray. It says, "Hey, this is very in line with something we just talked about." It says, "Hey, Andy, Jamie, and Holy BatCast family, do you think that Arthur and Orm's relationship as brothers will be in Aquaman?"
Yes.
I think we got that answer from thanks to EW, because it specifically says Arthur and his half-brother Orm. I'm sure that, yes, there will be a weird, strained relationship when Arthur returns to Atlantis, and Orm is now in charge and has to deal with the return of his brother. And I'm sure it will be a strained relationship. And that's part of the fun of that dynamic is they're brothers, and Orm is great at just being a great guy to Arthur's face while being a complete bastard behind his back, and then that eventually coming out. So
yeah,
I think that's what we're looking at, which I'm all for.
We might even get a taste of it in that trailer come Comic-Con.
Don't tease me now.
You like it when I talk dirty.
Don't stop. All right, so that's where we're going to close the Wayne Manor mailbox. If you've got a question or a message for us, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. So thank you to everybody who does send us those messages. We love hearing from you. We love answering those questions. It is appreciated. It's also appreciated to all of you who have left us an iTunes review. We're still at like 247-ish. We haven't gotten a new one since the last episode, so I'm not going to read one because there's not one to read. But if you haven't done it yet, please and thank you. It only takes a minute out of your day, and it really does help us out. So thank you for doing that. But that's where we're going to wrap up this episode of Holy BatCast. Brendan, thank you for filling Jamie's size 18 shoes.
There's a lot of space, a lot of wiggle room.
There
in
is.
these shoes, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, my thoughts and prayers go out to him though. Hopefully he gets better. Just lay off the burgers, dude. Like, I know they're nice and everything, but moderation.
But if the folks aren't already keeping up with you, where can they, Brendan?
I'm sure they've heard all this before, but you can follow me personally on Twitter at Lowy007, or my podcast, The Nightlight, at NightlightPod, or Facebook.com/The Nightlight.
There you go. And you don't know. This could be someone's first episode.
Could be. And there should be a new Nightlight coming soon too, where we're getting to that period where it's been a month, and I've had some adventures that I'd love to talk about in a show. So just got to try and get our schedules to line up again, and we should have a new episode soon.
Cool. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not holding my breath.
No. Well, you don't
underwater.
You don't need to. Just don't overthink it. Just talk.
Just talk. All right. Well, but no, thank you, Brendan. And thank you, everybody out there in internet land for downloading the show. Please do subscribe to the show. Please leave us a review. And as Michael Keaton's Batman says, please tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com and then find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Holy BatCast. But that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. This show is a proud part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can sample all the shows that are part of the network at rf4rm.com. Those shows include Real Fans for Real Movies, the original show that looks back at films past and present. There's also Holy BatCast, all about Batman and the DC Universe. There's Disorder, every Disney film that looks back at every Disney animated feature in order. There's Taking the Bullet that looks at bad movies so you don't have to watch them. There's Please Rewind, the RF for RM retro show that looks back at older movies. And finally, there's Grim Grinning Hosts, a salute to all pop culture, but mostly theme parks. Again, you can check out all these shows at rf4rm.com or search for them by name wherever you get your podcasts.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
You took a hell of a hit. You all right?
At last, the firstborn of beloved Queen Atlanta.
Wait!
Please. I knew her.
Well, that makes one of us.
When my parents fought in the wars, she took me in.
What a saint.
You dare speak of Queen Idlana that way?
Your queen left me on my father's doorstep and never gave me another thought.
Your mother left you to save your life. Cannot imagine how it hurt her. What it cost her.